Now then, people, welcome back to the Just Joe football show and the penultimate final word of the season. We'll have one more to do, but that might be even worse than this one, if I'm being totally honest. But yeah, this isn't going to be great. So if you've come for a load of happy clappers, as they like to be called, then you're not probably going to get it on tonight's show. Before we do get into it, and we're going to get straight into it, just smash a like on the stream, subscribe to the channel, get your comments in, and of course hit the notification bell. Make sure you check out everyone else's channel as well. Leeds United View with Joe, Leeds Bird Rants with Kate. We have got the Leeds That podcast with Rocco and Auto Better. I hate saying that now, to be honest, because he didn't know feck all, did he? But yeah,
no, he ought to have done though.
Yeah, oh yeah, exactly. But look, Leeds United went down to the London Stadium and just put in a meek and mild performance. Luke Ayling putting it down to a lot of fitness. But listen, we will do what went wrong during the season after the season's finished, a final word like special episode, if you like, where we just talk about what actually the problems were. But we're here just to really focus on West Ham. Of course, we probably will dabble into them things, but I do want to do like a big season review with everyone. Can you blame her, Josh? Can you blame her really that she's on the wine? I certainly don't.
Yeah, can I just say, I haven't had wine all week. I need it today because I've had a shit day and I've been away and I'm knackered and I need some wine. All right?
Don't worry, Kate. No one thinks you're an alcoholic or all.
No, but I have come off. I'm not drinking as much, but I'm treating myself. All right.
Doesn't sound like we need to do an intervention midstream. Right. We're going to start with Rocco. We're going to come straight to Rocco because Rocco has been off for a few weeks. He's been off gallivanting around Europe. I wish I was doing that at this state in time. But Rocco, we'll come to you first of all. Where you at, mate? You were having a go at us, weren't you, off air for being a little bit too chipper?
Yeah. To be honest, yesterday I probably didn't feel as bad as I might have done, but I think today it's all just sinking in, and of course the Leicester result today, as you know, is the last nail in the coffin. I think, obviously there is one more to come on Sunday, but yeah, I was starting to try and make myself believe, well, if we beat Spurs, who's to say Everton, might not lose to Bournemouth and choke, but now wanting two teams to do it, it's just not going to happen. And yeah, thinking about having to play Millwall and life in the Championship. I mean, at the end of the day, when you're at Ellen Road, it's all the same. It doesn't really matter who you're playing. It's the Whites against the visitors, and that's it. But yeah, it's just depressing to think about how we've got to this point. Just utter incompetence. It makes me sick, makes me angry. And yeah, thinking that Radrizzani is not even going to be there on Sunday to take all the flack makes me even angrier. He's off gallivanting as well.
Yeah.
Off buying clubs in Italy. It's just awful. So I'm at the lowest ebb now, even though I've expected it for a while, but it's just sad.
Yeah, it is. And to be honest, Rocco, we're not going to beat Spurs next week anyway. I mean, we don't even have a fully fit striker. I think Bamford's not going to make it. And Rodrigo basically was broken anyway halfway through the game. So I don't even know. We haven't got a striker anyway. So we're not going to beat Spurs,
Nah, I can't see it. And more to the point, how many goals would we have to score? They're not Harry Kane and Son. We'll need to score 3 at the minimum, as we have all season, pretty much.
Yeah, it's brutal. We've had a super chat early doors from Colin Kerwin. Regular says Kate for director of football role. Bamford and Meslier crushed into the finest wine. Sad day on Sunday. All see you all in Rotherham or sometime with a rundown train station. Great work all year, Joe. Really top work. Thank you very much. Same to all the content creators out there as well. It's been a tough season, so it's been tough to do this sort of stuff. We were lucky to do it during the Bielsa era because it was all sunshine and roses. Yes, last year was not great, but we all thought it would get better. But unfortunately, we've got absolute charlatans running the football club, and it's just a League One football club pretending to be a Premier League football club behind the scenes. We'll go We'll go clockwise or anti-clockwise. I'm going to come to you. There's a lot of feedback. I can hear myself a few times. I don't know if someone's doing that. But yeah, Luke, I'll come to you. Oh, it's got worse. Anybody?
I can hear it.
Yeah. Oh, it's gone now. It's gone.
No, it's from you,
no,
Joe.
It's not. It's not from me. Wait there.
I can't hear it.
I can hear Joe coming from somewhere else as well.
I can just hear Joe.
Right. Can I? Right, it's UK. I've muted you. It's UK. I don't know what's going on, but when I unmute you, hang on. Yeah, it's definitely you. I'm going to mute you for the time being. Kate.
Sort it out, Kate. For God's sake,
man. Put the wine down and sort your mic out. Luke, I'll come to you, mate. Were you at the game, Luke? 'Cause I know you travel.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
How was the mood inside the stadium, mate?
It was all right for the first 20 minutes. But nah, man, you know, everyone you spoke to, everyone's in a similar boat. We've almost accepted it, and whilst ever there's an ounce of belief, we will cling on to it naturally as a fan and as a you know, somebody who loves the club. So there was a lot of negative chat, but I think we've probably done all that already, done all that in. So yeah, it was almost about sort of how much we're enjoying going down to Plymouth next year and so on and so forth. So yeah, it was a little bit slapstick, to be fair, but I made my peace. I think I made my peace with the old relegation piece. Probably Palace, after Palace losing 5-1 to Palace. But I've always clung on to that little bit of hope that we could turn something around. And if anybody can do it, Leeds can do it. You know what I mean? But just hasn't happened for us. Look, we're his own worst enemies this season. But yeah, it was shit game, wasn't it? You know, there was nothing really. It was, I don't know. You go 1-0 up against a side that you're playing well against, and then take your foot off the gas. It's always going to happen to you.
Yeah,
I was surprised by their lineup though, Joe. I was really surprised by their lineup.
Same, but do you know what really pissed me off, Luke? Right, and I don't know if you recognise this in the ground, but not only had they got to a European final, not only had they been on the piss at the start of the game, they're walking out with the kids and that. It was like a party time, and I know this might sound like really, I don't know, like Richard Keys, Roy Keane kind of vibe, because I know Roy Keane on the commentary was fuming about it. But Leeds United should have been going out to fight for their lives, and they're coming out with their kids like it's all a party day and that, or it's our send off before Europe. And I was like, we should be all over these, and we don't
have the characters, Joe.
No, we don't.
We don't have the characters. We don't have a Baradia and Alioski, Cooper playing somebody who you know would go and hit him hard. And yeah, I completely agree. But on the other side, were they more relaxed? They looked far more relaxed than us. You know, they were so fluid, and even the substitutions they brought on were really, really good. So look, we didn't deserve anything out of the game, and we deserve everything we get this season, to be fair.
Yeah, what was the mood like?
Luke? Sorry, what were the fans like?
At full time specifically? What was...
I left after the third goal.
Most of them left. Yeah, just
and I think we nearly conceded a fourth after I'd left. I think the third went in about 93, 94, and then we nearly conceded one afterwards. So I didn't stay. It didn't sound great. Everyone was chatty. You know, there's positives to take out of this season. We won't hopefully have to see anything like it again, whether that's in the Championship or the Premier League, in terms of how we've been run and the expectation put on mediocre players at best, I would probably say. So yeah, it's one of them. Can you take positives out of it? I don't know, but it's always different when you've been to a game to going on social media and speaking to somebody about it. Yeah. So I would say the mood is more joyant, or not even joyant. I think probably, you know, there's a lot more to look forward to as an away football fan than if you're a Leeds fan and you're on social media. Do you see what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
It's the day out. It's the whole piece. It's not just about football. You're there with your mates. You're having a good time regardless. You're in the pub. You're on the coaches. You know. So yeah, it is difficult to give a bit of a reflection on that, but But yeah, look, what will be will be. It's only football at the end of the fucking day. Do you know what I mean? If some people are taking it far too seriously, and yeah, I mean, I've seen some really nasty shit on there this week. That's absolutely appalling. And just to go back to what we mentioned last week on Bamford, take it out on these people. Do you know what I mean? Get a grip.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It hasn't been great, has it, on social media? That's for sure. And hang on, it came back then. Will you stop touching stuff, Kate? You were all right for a second, and then I started talking, and it came back. Okay.
Coming to work pissed up.
I know, yeah.
Is that all right? Is that better?
Yeah, it's good now. It's good. Yeah.
Hands are here. All right.
Right. Okay.
I'm not touching anything.
Kate, how are you? How are you with regards to it all? What's your general mood?
Oh, yeah, I don't know where to start, but I'll try and be brief. If we sort of leave the sort of fact that the club's been like completely mismanaged, and we just look at Sunday, what really got me was the absolute lack of fight. And I just could not believe, like you were saying, Joe, when those Hammers players went out and they had the kids with them, and they were so relaxed, and you're right, we should have been going at them like full throttle, which we did for kind of 20 minutes, did the same old thing, scored, and then literally just sat on our asses. And then we came out in the second half like we didn't need a result. I mean, it was woeful. It was embarrassing. And it was just, I can understand why people are getting pissed off on social media. And don't get me wrong, I don't advocate any sort of, hate from anybody, but Jesus Christ, that lot, they need to F off, really, out of our club, the majority of some of those players. I'm so upset. I can't even tell you.
Yeah,
you're so polite.
A lack of fight.
Say it. Go on. Say it with your chest. Go on.
Stop it.
No, say it. You don't say F off. Tell them what you really think.
No, I don't want to get Joe demonetized.
Does that happen? Does it? No wonder we're not making no money.
That's brilliant. I love that. No, to be honest, I don't know what they keep trying to demonetize my watch-alongs, and then I click review all the time, and they always get accepted. So I'm like, you're up to some at YouTube, because you do it on every single watch-along, and then I put in a review, and they come back and say, yeah, you're good. And I'm like, well, so what are you trying to do? Anyway, do you know what? Right, Kate mentioned the second half, and I think back to when Javi came in, and I kept saying, like, we're doing 20 minutes in a game. We played against Arsenal, first 20, okay, then we crumbled. Against Leicester, first 15, okay, crumbled. Crystal Palace, first 45, second half, crumbled. And then I remember saying on one of the games, like, these periods that we do well are getting shorter and shorter. And then obviously yesterday happened 20 minutes. And then we hear Luke Ayling's comments about fitness. And I don't want to, again, delve into the reasons that I think we know whose fault that is. We know whose fault that is, because it was all about creating atmospheres and not about football. But like, it's really worrying that even these professional footballers can't get up enough to let even the adrenaline carry them through for more than 20 minutes. I think Luke Ayling just looked, yeah, man, it just beat, right? Just absolutely beat. And it's embarrassing, really.
They all did, but I've been trying to step back from the individuals and kind of look at it as a whole, and look at, because in so many comments over the last couple of days, Al Leicster's comments, and he's made a couple of like this where basically the squad isn't good enough. He's pretty much said the squad isn't good enough for the Premier League. Yeah. And we've talked about it, to death at this point, about the bad investment on the club. And then you go back and you look at the one thing at the start of a season where, and I won't get into this too much because I know I don't want to talk about it too much, but your preseason's there to get you ready for the season. It's there to break the fitness levels. It's there to set the tone of what's going to come. It's there to give you the miles and the legs that will last you the back end of games towards the end of the season, because you can't do the kind of work you do in preseason during the season. We were lucky this year. We've had 2 preseasons and we still didn't get it right. Players still aren't fit enough. And I think you're now in a situation where you've got Allardyce saying, I'll take him at his word. I think he's talking truths, because he has nothing to hang around for. I know he said that he might like to stay on now, but he's not got a contract after next week. So he can be honest and open and tell us exactly what it's like. And he's been pretty honest and open. I think you saw Luke Ayling do the same thing this week. Season's over. He knows we're down. And now he's decided this is the moment now to start telling truths. And when he said that we just didn't have it, that we don't have it in our legs anymore, you know, that for me goes back to the preseason stuff. That goes back to, you know, 18 months ago, running triple sessions or double sessions, having beds in the clubhouse where players could sleep and rest, and then having a communal area where they can hang out together to build a team spirit by spending time together. And then Jesse comes out. We're only hearing about this in the last couple of months that Jesse's come in and he's ripped out everything. He ripped the beds out, they've been made a media centre, didn't want them. The communal area is gone as well. So all of the expertise that we got from somebody like Bielsa, and this is not about the playing style, this is about creating a club, creating the environment for players to do well, and building the foundations to give them the best chance they can to go on and succeed. And then another less experienced manager coming in and going, no, that's all wrong. We should dig it out. And the club letting him, which is the killer for me. I don't necessarily think it's a lack of fight from the players, and I know it looks like that. I think it's a level. I think that the players, unfortunately, when you take away the extra stuff that was put into them over the last previous 18 months, I think they just ran out of steam, some of them. And then the players that have come in haven't been good enough, have never been fit enough. We've seen it in every game this season where Leeds have dropped off in the second half. It's not a new thing. It's getting, as you said, Joe, it's getting worse as the season goes on. But somebody made a decision at 25 minutes to sit deep yesterday on Saturday.
Yeah.
And that we couldn't have run out of legs, because I was watching the game and I made a couple of notes on it and I was saying, West Ham were on the beach or on the piss. Like they weren't playing with pace and tempo. Leeds had 3 chances in the first 25 minutes that we should have taken all 3 of them. And we did. And then we do score a really, really good goal. And you're like, great, we're doing okay here. We have most of the ball. We're in there half more than ours. They're not really bothering. Just get at them. Just keep doing what you're doing. And we don't. We drop back to the 18-yard line. And again, the tweet that I put out was, we've seen this movie before. We start dropping deep, then counter start. Then we do start to push forward and have to push forward. The counter attacks will start. And then we'll just open up and concede goals, which happened. And we've seen that performance for this Leeds team more often than not this season, especially the second half of the season since the World Cup. And I just don't think they have it in them anymore. And I don't necessarily point a finger blame at the players anymore. I think I'd point and go, we didn't buy good enough players. Retrospectively, at the time, I thought we did okay in January. Looking back on it now, and you find out Allardyce won't play Rutter up front because he's not ready. Which is just shocking to pay £35 million for a player that's not ready. And then you look at the fitness stuff and you look at the 3 different managers, and that's changing things constantly as well. We were never set up to be a success this year. And that goes back to a man who's currently hanging around with a big smile on his face in Genoa trying to buy a different club. Well, still having this club in the shits. You know?
Disgusting. So disrespectful.
I saw him this morning. I saw the clip of him driving in this morning with a big smile on his face going, oh, hopefully, fingers crossed. I'm like, we still have a game left, pal.
Yeah,
you know, we still have a game left, and you're celebrating, you're buying your next club. You know, that's the problem with this club. It's the lack of self-awareness from the ownership of this club has left this entire season where it is. And we've said it enough times, bad decisions after bad decisions, but there's no way we should have lost that game on Saturday. It was there for us. Somebody made a decision to sit deep. Bad idea. And then the second half, we've seen it before, where they come out in the second half, there's nothing there.
Yeah, it was. Go on, Kate.
No, I was just going to say, but you know, the reports coming out. I mean, going back to what Jay was saying just then, also about you know, the way, you know, ripping the beds out and all the rest of it. I mean, the thing is, I think Bielsa knew that in order to compete in the Premier League with that group of players,
with this bang average squad,
super fit, and they had to be able to run and outpace people.
Mm-hmm.
And when you know, when Jesse removed that, you're left with, you know, what are you left with? Because the quality is
bang average players, isn't it?
This is one thing there that I sorry, Kate, go on.
No.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the thing for me, and I don't really like thinking like this because a lot of these players I'm about to accuse, they were absolute legends. But from things I've heard, I get the impression that the players got sick of Bielsa, and maybe they're part of the problem. Maybe they also thought they could succeed without doing all that extra stuff. Or at the same time, we're not there, we're not doing it. So maybe they really were at the end of the tether and they couldn't do it anymore. But I feel bitter about that. I feel like, well, did they just give up on Bielsa? Because it sounds like that, from a lot of the stuff that I've heard, indirectly. So yeah, that's sort of festering as well. And whether they just couldn't keep going or whether they thought they were good enough to not need to.
And do you know what? Just to piggyback on the back of that, Joe, I've heard that a lot as well, that they were the ones that down tools, they were the ones that needed a change. They were the ones that approached Bielsa and said something needs to change, and he went no and doubled down on it and all this sort of stuff. You have to think about, well, he needed new bodies and Victor and the club didn't provide him with that. But also at the same time, and this is why, I felt sorry for Luke yesterday, but he's part of that leadership group. I think this leadership group's done a lot more harm than good, if I'm being totally honest.
Great.
But I hope he realizes yesterday. I hope they all realize now that actually, because if we're being totally honest, and people, I used to call them championship players, and people go, they're not championship, the Premier League. Players like Luke Ayling, and I mean this with the best respect, he'd have never made it to the Premier League if Bielsa would have come into this. Wouldn't have come in. I'm telling you now, he was going nowhere with Leeds. Yeah, none of them. Yeah, I mean, Adam Forshaw dabbled, didn't he, with Middlesbrough, Bamford. I don't see who would have taken him. He went on loan to a host of clubs before he, did well at. So what I'm saying is, a lot of them owed. I mean, Calvin, exceptional. But we were all ready to sell Calvin.
I was going to say that Calvin was on his way. Yeah, we'd all decided he wasn't. He was number 10 at that stage.
Because he scored goals. Yeah, he scored goals under TC for a little bit. I remember, but
we wanted to keep Ronaldo Vieira over him.
Vieira, exactly. And look now, I hope they realise. I hope that interview that Luke gave, where he said, players used to fear our running. Players used to fear that we would go for the full 90 minutes. And we did. But yesterday, and the back end of the season, I look at the good performances, right? We caught Liverpool cold. Chelsea, we were really good. But that was at the start of the season when they're at the fittest. When it's come to the business end, do you know, since Forest, we've picked up 2 points since we beat Forest.
We've only, what the stat went there? We won 11 games since we sacked Bielsa. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, the Bielsa model, and this is where I wanted to give Radrizzani and Orta and Kinnear at the start of the season the benefit of the doubt. I wanted to hear them out, and I wanted to say, look, you've got us back into the Premier League, and Christ knows nobody else has got us even close. So I wanted them to have the benefit. I keep saying the same thing. Same when a new manager comes in. I always want them to be a success, and I'll always back them initially, because if they do well, we do well, and that's why I do it. But when you start putting together all the different interviews that they've done over the year, something stinks and something is off. When Bielsa went, we were told that they approached him with players consistently, and he consistently said no, he didn't need them, didn't want them. Players he had was good enough, and the ones that he would want, we couldn't afford. So that was the rhetoric that was turfed out then. Then when Bielsa was sacked, which again did come from the dressing room, and again a bunch of people who were less experienced in the game than a man like Bielsa decided that they knew better than Bielsa, and that they knew what they needed in order for them to be successful. And look what's happened. So they got their wish. They wanted Bielsa to go, if they did, and off he went. And now look at the mess they've been in since he's gone. Then you look at the press conference, the interview they did with the Athletic at the start of the season with David Ornstein, and Radrizzani said that we had pretty much decided we were letting Bielsa go at the end of the season anyway, that the model had ran its course, and that we had been lining up replacements, and we always knew that this day was going to come. We were planning for it. Then they put Eddie Gray out in front of TalkSport. So the Eddie Gray, Eddie always, I'm not criticizing Eddie here because Eddie's.
No,
a
you
legend.
should. You should, bro.
Well, hang
because
on, hang on,
No,
Joe.
but Joe, just to come in on that, people gave me stick for that, and I was like,
but
are you really believing what Eddie's saying? Really?
No, I'm
Go
not.
on, mate.
And let me finish. Eddie gets wheeled out. Eddie has always told the company line at Leeds. He did it on the Chilino. He did it on the Bates. Eddie has always been a Leeds company man, and he's always been at Leeds, and he's always helped Leeds out when they needed to him. That's his job. That's what he does. He's involved with the club. And I won't criticize Eddie for that because Eddie tries to see the best in the club. But he's pushed out in front of TalkSport, and he's told to tell TalkSport, or I'm assuming he's told to tell TalkSport. I hope to God he didn't believe in himself, that Bielsa's time had come at Leeds, that it had ran its course, and there was time for a change, and it was needed. And you're hearing all of this stuff, and it all sounds pretty neat and tidy. It all sounds like, well, yep, it ran its course. We all knew it would. It did at other clubs. This is what's going to happen. And then you get Orta and Radrizzani doing interviews after, just around the time of the World Cup, and you find out that Bielsa had said to them, the model will last 3 years, and at which point you need to either change the players or change the manager, because there will be a burnout at this. He even said it himself. There'll be a 3-year period, change the players. They decided to change the manager. They got the manager that they wanted, and then they gave him players. But then it turns out, Victor Orta then comes out and says that Bielsa had gone to them with players that he wanted, and that they had said no, because as far as they were concerned, they were changing the model at the end of the season. There was no point bringing in players for Bielsa now, when they were going to be changing at the end of the season anyway. So you get these different ended stories that don't add up, but the closer it gets past Bielsa being gone and Jesse Marsh's tenure, you start to see the cracks in the lie. That's the problem with people who lie. It's never the same lie. It's always slightly different. And when they came out and said that he had gone to them with players and that they had said no because they were confident they were moving on from, it was like the level of arrogance and ego that has put us in the situation that we're in is incredible, because it's exactly what it is ego. They've taken a structured model from a man who knew what he was doing, maybe change the coach, but keep the lessons you've learned from him, keep the things in place that got you to where you are. But they threw all of that out, and they were determined that they were going to be right. 100% determined they were going to be right. So they lied, and they lied, and they lied, and they lied. And they pushed everyone else out in front of the bus to get this message across. It's impossible for Leeds to go down. And here we are in a situation where the ownership have lied consistently across the season, that all the good work that had been done is now gone completely. There is nothing left.
Waste.
And these players, and again, the point that I make, it's a long point, I'm sorry, but the point that I'm making here is, he told us these players wouldn't be able to do this after 3 years. This is year 4, and they've run out of legs. He told us it would happen, and no one listened to him, and it happened. And here we are in a situation where every time they ignored Bielsa, it's come back to bite them in the arse, and here we are again.
I mean, there's not anything wrong you've said there, bro.
No,
we might as well end the stream there.
Wrap up.
Perfect.
Just a point. How depressing, though, isn't it? Sorry.
I was just going to say, the worst thing is that Radrizzani's actually already made this mistake. So when he came in January 2017, we were in the playoffs. We had a good team. We had a good manager. We fell short in the end. At the end of the season, he takes full control. He downgrades the manager. I've never, ever believed that Monk went just because Monk wanted to go. We didn't try and keep him. It dragged on and on. The fans were chanting for him. Radrizzani never came out and said anything. And then like a month after, or a few weeks after the season, Monk goes and Radrizzani's like, oh yeah, we did try and keep him. It was bullshit. He didn't try and keep him. Gets a shit manager in. He downgrades the players. He sells Rob Green and brings in Wiedwald, and blah, blah, blah from then. So what I'm saying is he already downgraded Leeds from the time he took over. Then he got Bielsa. Everything was great. And then he downgrades us again. It's just unbelievable how he could not realise the impact of lowering the standards at the club. I cannot believe it.
And there's no accountability, Rocco, is there? There's no accountability for what he's done. It's
No, it doesn't mean fuck all to him. He's out in Sampdoria.
And he make money on his investment as well. Like, even if they go down, they get 150 million. He only paid 50 million for Leeds, something like that. So he's making 100 million on Leeds, even in its worst situation since he's been here. So I don't know. I guess.
Just on the Joe, you mentioned there. I think it was you, Joe, about the leadership groups and all that. I think it was you, Joe, and Joe actually a bit of a to and fro. I don't even think it is a leadership group at Leeds United. I think it's a cool kids in the playground who's been there longest type environment. They're not the leaders in the club. I mean, Liam Cooper, arguable exception, but they're almost like, and it almost feels like it's a very difficult environment to come in for new people. And I think we've struggled there massively as well this season. I think the new signings. I'll be the first to hold my hands up. I'm as the resident happy clapper. I'll be the first to hold my hands up and said I was excited by a lot of these signings. I'll not.
Same, I was as
well. And they've come into a club that's stagnant. I would say is probably the best way to describe it when they've come in. Even the youth signings. That it even looks difficult for them to integrate with the first team. There's something not right, and I don't think it is the four managers this season we can't be getting the same issues with the same players from 4 different managers. Something's got to give, and we can sit here and point fingers at the board. Yes, the boards have made loads and loads of mistakes, and ultimately it is down on them. But those players are the players that run around for 90 minutes every week.
Yeah,
but the point I'm making, Luke, is, if they're not good enough, you end up second from bottom of the table.
Absolutely, but I think my argument goes back to there, Joe, in terms of the actual players that are coming in, and then you've got Paddy Bamford
not integrating the properly.
And you've got you're just making life difficult because they want to still be playing football for Leeds United in the Premier League.
Sorry, Kate, go on.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, but this shouldn't be allowed to happen. If it wasn't so chaotic at the top, this wouldn't be happening. If the club was well run, like someone like Brighton or Brentford come to mind, this shouldn't be happening. The players shouldn't be having free rein in the dressing room like that. They shouldn't have the amount of influence that they do. Because at the end of the day, they need to remember what they are. They're players.
Yeah, I think one thing, like, just to sort of join the dots, and again, it's just guesswork, but like what Luke said, when Big Sam came in, there was a lot that got leaked to the Mail and all these papers, and that came with the change, and someone was leaking these stories, and one of them was a rift between the older and the younger players. And during the game yesterday, when Somerville came on, both him and Ayling, there was a ball in between them, and Ayling left it and Somerville left it, and he went out of play, and Ayling proper roasted Somerville. Yeah. And then moments later, Ayling lost the ball and he went out of play. And I seen Somerville like looking to have a pop back. Do you know what I mean? As if to say, well, you didn't do up with it. Do you know what I mean? And then I just... Yeah, no, a bit like that though, bro. And I just wonder if
that's what they need it.
Yeah,
so they've got they almost, and we've spoken about Paddy Bamford on here before. Look, they've almost got this entitlement because they've got promoted with Leeds United, and look, we could be way off the mark here, and this is completely rumours. I don't know, but it's how it feels when you're there watching. I remember that moment yesterday, Joe, and I remember it well because it was so simple for one of them to get the foot on it, and they both went opposite way. It was neither of them's fault, but it was both their fault. You know what I mean? So yeah. And again, it could be completely it could just be another excuse that I'm trying to find. I think maybe, but
I don't think so, Luke.
No,
because I've never seen a season where certain players spend so much time running over to the bench and talking to the bench. From like Bamford has spent the bulk of the second half of the season standing on the sideline talking to managers, whoever the manager is. Same with Ayling, same with Cooper when he was on the pitch. Like just these little huddles and that group of people that are together. Rodrigo as well. The only thing I'd say about Rodrigo is at least he's trying. Like he's running around the place. He's giving it. Fuck, the rest of them can't be arsed. But there's. I thought there was no. What'd you say?
I love it when you swear.
I'm just trying to swear when I'm doing this. It's what was I saying? Thanks, Luke. I'm gone now.
You're blushing now, mate.
No, it's just this. I thought the leadership panel, it didn't exist under Bielsa. Marsh put it in place. I thought it was gone after Marsh left, and then you heard Javi reference it once, and then you heard Sam call it a committee. I spoke to the leadership committee. He's like, get rid of that. You're the manager of the club. You're the one that makes decisions. By all means, sit down and talk to the players to get an idea of what's going on. But Jesus Christ, you're the manager.
leadership group, for Christ's sake. They need a bloody
Players aren't
leadership
happy
group.
with blah blah blah. Do your fucking job.
One captain.
That's all
Fuck
I'm saying.
everybody else off. You have one
Yes.
captain. If he's not playing, there's somebody else. There's no group of people that should be
You
doing
don't see
anything else.
Pep having a leadership group, do you? For fuck's sake.
definitely.
No, you go on, Kate. Whoa.
Pep's got 600 coaches by the looks of things. You see that line yesterday? The length of it. He has that many coaches need a leadership group.
Did you see on Sky yesterday when they showed that sort of package on Sky Sports of Pep in the dressing room, and he was giving that talk to the players? Superb. And I just thought to myself, I wonder, if anybody's ever given that sort of talk to our lot.
I fucking would.
So. I'd say they have, but whether they react to it now or not is another situation. Because
I'd suggest
the problem is
Sam would.
maybe
Of any of the managers.
But he's on a time limit contract, how long do we have to listen to him for anyway? Like,
Have you seen it? Have you seen the clip of him yesterday? Pascal.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It nearly backfired very quickly when they counter-attacked with one defender. The thing about it is, if you go back to that leadership group, right, and just think of it from a power dynamic situation. If that group or if the players were the ones that went to the club and said, you need to change this and the Bielsa stuff isn't working anymore, you need to change it, and they listened to them and changed it, then how much power does that give the players over the management? That they got rid of that particular manager. Any other manager coming in after that hasn't got a chance of being the success, because as soon as it gets a little bit tough for them, they're gonna go crying to their dad and he's not working, we're not happy.
Yeah.
And then you get to a situation where
changes.
Javi coming in and he's
Big
interim manager
changes.
till the end of the season, so we won't have to do this for long. He gets turfed out. Sam comes in, he's got 4 games. Don't have to listen to him for long either, and then the season's over and we can do what we want. So it's for me, there's an attitude problem there and an ability problem there. They're not good enough to demand the amount of power they seem to be trying to get or rumored to have had. But no one's going to be a success if you've got a group of people in the dressing room who are dictating what happens.
Do you think we've missed? And this is to everybody. Do you think we've missed? And I don't want to sound patronising here because we've just been slating that leadership group off, but homegrown lads. I know Cooper came from Chesterfield, but he's a Leeds fan. Calvin Phillips, somebody in there that gives a fuck.
Well, Coops is in that group, and so is Ailing.
But he's not played all season. I mean,
no, true, I know that. But outside of Ailing having a couple of bad games this year, which is form, not
A couple.
Yeah, he had that bad run. Yeah, well, he's look. We're second from bottom team. There's nobody in that team good enough to be in the team. So he's what we have. I think he's tried. I think in every other game you've looked, bar a couple after the Man United second game.
Next season.
I don't think so. I don't think a lot of them will stick around next season. I think
Well,
they
they're not
definitely
wanting to stick around.
But he's got an extension, hasn't he?
Anyway, he's just had one, hasn't he?
Aiden's got an extension. Yeah, but the point being, they're both in the leadership group and they're trying. When they do play, they do try at least. Then you've got Rodrigo in that group as well, and he looks like he tries. So they just got Paddy and maybe one or two others that are in that group.
But my argument, Joe, if they're not influencing others to work together as a cohesive unit and a team and a squad, then that's where the biggest issue might be. It might not be. It might not be. It might be way off here. But it worked. It's funny how it used to work, and it's chalk and cheese, isn't it?
It worked because it was one voice
from the top.
Because I think you're right.
It's just like emanating through the club from the uncertainty in the boardroom to Orta and all his antics, and then the changing of the managers. It's just all a complete and utter shambles, isn't it? It's like, 100%. And then at the end of the day, like Joe says, they're just not good enough. They're going to the defenders are going to make mistakes. The midfielders can't pass to each other or keep up with play, and the strikers can't. Well, Rodrigo's done well, but we all know about Bamford, and it's recipe for relegation, isn't it?
100%. We've had a couple of super chats. Gabe, the American, says, heart ripped out. Big up the team doing God's work. Suffering on together. And Jim says, I, for one, welcome our 49ers overlords. Just on that then, because there seems to be a lot of confusion. I myself are confused about this link about it's null and void if he buys another club and then he's out in Sampdoria, and I'm like, right, I think it was Leeds that tweeted that, and I was like, right, so what's he up to? What's going on? Does anyone have any clarity? Because I've been told, well, not told, but have seen over the last couple of hours that the 49ers are still big on taking Leeds United regardless of the division. So that's that, and he wouldn't be out there trying to buy another club if he didn't think he was going to sell Leeds, right?
Yeah, well, he's looking like he's going to go. From the bits and pieces that I've picked up is there is the option to buy Leeds if they're in the Premier League. Outside of that, there is no other option. However, if it goes past the date, or if Leeds go down, Brazzani apparently has a right to veto the entire buyout, right? Which I think is very unlikely considering he's trying to buy another club. The other stuff that came out from The Athletic today was that, or yesterday, was that apparently the 49ers and the Leeds board had been back around the table last week discussing the buyout. And from all indications there, the 49ers want in now full control, even in the Championship. They still see it as a strong investment because they get Leeds back in the Premier League and it's worth what it was worth. What the structure of that deal looks like, I don't know. Whether it's they take a 7 or 8% sharing off of Brazzani, makes them majority shareholders. He can feck off and do what he wants, but he can still sell the club next year if they go back up for the money that he wants to get it for. So he still gets money out of that. But from everything I've read or looked into over the last week or so, 49ers seem still very keen to get this deal done. It's going to be whatever he decides to do. And again, I think Mo Ibrahim was floating around in the chat there earlier on. He was messaging people earlier on. I was talking to him briefly, and he said that Brazzani's finalising his deal in Sampdoria. That's what he's over there for. So that sounds like it's pretty far down the line. Yeah,
has happened all pretty quickly with that. So obviously, I do expect the 49ers to take over. I'm actually... It sounds a bit sadistic, but I'm actually quite excited for what's next because Leeds United will go down now, right? We need a miracle and it's not going to happen. Leeds United will go down on Sunday. We'll feel even worse then, but at least it'll be done. You know what I mean? At least it'll be confirmed.
Would you rather Everton came down with us though, Joe?
Yes. I've said this today on the stream. I want Everton down because they deserve to go down. And there might be Everton fans watching this because a few of them do watch. And it's nothing against the fans per se, but it's more about the ownership and the way that they've been ran and the way that they've cheated, really. Because my main worry was if we went down, knowing the Premier League, they'll do what they did to Bournemouth when they broke financial fair play. They'll give them a fine a couple of years down the line and maybe a points deduction that won't impact the league status when really they should have it now, if I'm being honest. And that might be salty because we're going down, but it's just facts. So if Leicester, I would prefer out of us, because I think we're done, I would. Look, here's little Ed the Blue. Kiss it, lad. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I get it, mate. I get it. But I think I'd prefer Leicester to stay up. But
did you hear what Adam Pope said about it? He was on his podcast today, and they were talking about the possibility of Everton going down. And he said if Everton go down, they'll go to League One. Because he said it's a mess behind the scenes.
Financially ruined, aren't they?
They're financially
and Leicester are, to be fair.
To be fair, they are, yeah. But he reckoned if Everton went, Everton will be the one hit the hardest if they go down. So it's kind of more in Everton's interest,
especially if they get a points deduction next year as well.
Yeah,
will Kerry did it? Would the EFL pick that up?
No cash.
I'm not sure if the EFL would.
Not sure, no. Good point.
I know when Bournemouth got done, they got a fine a couple of years later, but they were already in the Premier League.
When they came back into the Premier League, they can hit you when you come back into the Premier League. Right. That was a threat that was thrown at Bournemouth, but they didn't do it then.
Should have done.
Right, yeah. But why did it take it so long? I mean, look, it's clutching at straws now at this stage because it might end up being down anyway.
Juve's just had their points deduction.
They just had their point deduction. But like, there's a team in the Championship, I think, got hit with a penalty today as well. So some like the organizations can move quick when they want to be. Leeds, Bournemouth, Burnley, and Leicester apparently approached this inquiry to speed up the process, and they said no. So apparently they're all suing Everton.
The process should have a finite amount of time, whenever and wherever it takes place, shouldn't it?
That's right, though, isn't it? Like, I mean, this is just maths. Like, this is just an accountant, an expert in the financial fair plays or profit and sustainability.
Obviously, in Everton,
this is how much you're allowed to spend. This is how much you actually spend. It's not the same. You broke the rules. I don't see why it's taken so long to be done.
Yeah. Well, look at how there's the City stuff as well, though, isn't there? You know what I mean? But money talks. So obviously, it's going to be a busy pre-season, off-season, if you like, because first and foremost, we're going to get a new owner. The 49ers are going to come in. We're then going to need a new manager.
Joe.
Pardon?
When are we going to find this out?
I think we'll honestly. The Monday, maybe not the Monday because it's bank holiday, but like the Tuesday, it will all start coming out of the club. It'll happen quickly, I think. Does everyone else agree? Like that, game over Sunday, and then it'll all start to
They'll
come
start
out.
coming out. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I think I think it needs to happen quickly. I mean,
Yeah, same.
Brighton have already allegedly signed 3 players for next season.
Yeah, they have.
Do you know?
Yeah.
That's how you move.
Leicester have apparently got a director of football incoming.
Well, Southampton have already agreed a deal with bloody Russell Martin from Swansea, haven't they? That's already done. They're already preparing to come back up. That's the thing. Because the Championship starts earlier as well than the Premier League, it's like we need to get our ducks in a row because there's going to be a lot of outgoings. There's going to need to be a lot of incomings. Because if I was listening to, I think it might have been the Square Ball earlier, and we need a whole new midfield. Rocker's probably going to move. McKennie's not staying, and Forshaw's broke. So, like, where's your midfield?
Adams won't be staying.
No, definitely not. Adams not staying. So we need a full midfield. The mad thing is, unless the new manager makes demands, the defence is probably the only place where I look at and say, do you know what? The majority of them will have to stay because no one else will take them. The defence
Hopefully we won't have to do
Bamford,
so much defending next year, though.
yeah. The defence and Bamford, everyone outside of that, people will be like, oh, we'll have him. Oh, we'll have him.
No.
Oh. I'm telling you, Bamford will still be here, Kate. You need to be prepared for that.
Nobody's going to sign him.
He will.
100%.
Nobody's
He'll
going
start
to
as
sign him.
well.
This is the thing.
Oh,
like, I listen to a lot of Kate, honestly, people are unrealistic in their expectations when they go gut them all. The club will look at it and say, Luke Ayling, competent right back, he'll stay. Cooper played in the Championship, he'll stay. I think Christensen probably stays. I don't know if Firpo will, but a lot of them, Forshaw will stay as a small player.
They've all got contracts, and there is release clauses in their contracts, but someone's got to come in and activate that release clause. You know, they don't just poof magic into thin air when the season finishes. They're all in the contract. So there was one piece last week that said that Tyler Adams is a lot more loyal than people think he is, and he might stick around for a year because it's not a World Cup year. You know, if he can get Leeds back into the Premier League, it's still in his interest. Then, you know, he's still got 3 years for the next World Cup, and he could stick it out with them. But I think he's one of the players that a lot of teams will look at picking up pretty quickly because I think he's done all right. I completely agree. I think Robin Koch will go back to Germany. I think he'll probably go to a lower half Bundesliga team, which is probably about his level. Yeah, I think I'll see it clear. I think you might get surprised with a couple of people. People still saying Jorginho Rutter is going to be top goal scorer next year. Just give up.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, actually. Let's talk about Rutter, the fact that Big Sam preferred to keep on a broken Rodrigo than bring on our record signing. Like, how bad is that?
Now, there's a lot of rumours I've seen today about, and I can't believe it. I mean, common sense prevails when I say when they say there's a clause in the
which there might be, but he's not played 10 games anyway, Luke. So,
but
he's not going to hit it.
I mean, they can set it at anything. I think, Joe, if I know rightly. But even still, when you're chasing a game and there's potentially Premier League survival on the line, that 5 million is a flash in the pan. It's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a drop in the ocean. It's nothing. So that I mean, unless there's an argument between
and Big
the 49ers,
Sam wouldn't accept that, Luke. Big Sam wouldn't accept that. If he needed to stay up, he wouldn't go, okay. He'd actually come out and say, they're not letting me play this kid. 100% he would, man.
You'd take him out of the squad completely if that was the case.
Yeah, he wouldn't even have him.
You say he's got a knock, we're not risking him, or he's a next year thing, we're not going to risk it. We're going to go with what's ready-made stuff for this year. But it does say an awful lot that a injured Rodrigo is still a better option than a £35 million striker in the manager's eyes, which again goes back to brain dead recruitment.
It is. Let me just get some super chats. So PRM says, thing is, Leeds should be in the Prem, but the board shouldn't. Out of all the relegated teams, Leeds should be best off financially. Just need the squad. I agree with that. PRM also says we should sign Pirro, Chukwuemeka, and Lewis Ferguson. Luke Hartley says, what do you think about the Vinicius situation? I spoke about that earlier. It's mad. I know we have racism in England and in the UK, but it always just seems to be up tenfold in other countries, to be fair. But listen, it's just not acceptable, is it? What I want to get the general mood is, folks. I'm already looking ahead to next season. I'm expecting 49ers to take over. I want a manager coming in that's got a certain brand of football and see some of the squad churned over. But I actually think about Leeds United's commercial prowess dwarfing the majority of the Championship. I look at the fact that we're going to have money because we've got the parachute payments. And also we do have some decent squad players. You sprinkle a few players in the spine of the team. I think we come back at the first time. I do. I think there's a big chance. I look at Burnley, what they did. I was listening to Brownie and he makes a fantastic point. A lot of people say we've got such a rubbish squad, right? Like it's League One and that sometimes people say, which is insane. But to put it into context, Cody Drama, who the manager's deemed not fit enough to play for Leeds, whether you agree with that decision or not, he's playing in the playoff final for Luton. Joe Gelhardt, who couldn't get in our squad, and I think he was right. He should have stuck around, but, he wasn't of a level to start yet. Got to the semi-final leading the line for Sunderland. So if these players can play towards the top end of the Championship, best believe the squad that we keep and add additions, for me, is a very strong squad in the Championship. Is anyone worried that we're going to be set for wilderness years, or do we think we can come straight back up?
I think it's important on the manager, and any signings we do make have got to be the potential. I've almost got to be Premier League potential, because if we are coming back up, we want to be stuck again in the same situation when we come back up.
I agree.
But there has to be for me like a plan. We need a plan, and I think the lack of plan, lack of direction, lack of kind of philosophy from the top down is really served us badly. And that in my opinion, that's what we need, and that will inform like recruitment and and all the rest of it moving forward. But we do need a strong spine, so a core of a team, for sure.
100%. Rocco, just ask this question actually as well, because I do have this image in my mind that the 49ers are going to ride on a white horse and it's going to be amazing, but they are also involved in decision making, right, Rocco? So how are you feeling with regards to them taking over?
Yeah, I'm not happy. I hold them culpable as well, alongside Radrizzani. The way they've just allowed him to make these terrible decisions, to stick by or to let the club just rudderlessly go on as it has, I think it's a disgrace. So I hope they go as well, but they're not gonna. So hopefully, the next best thing is obviously, it's better that Radrizzani goes and they come in. So that's what we're going to get. I hope they take a back seat. I hope they're not all, taking a front. I hope they don't try and pretend they're the knights in shining armor. I hope they just appoint some people that know about football that can run us. But I'm very worried. I'm very, very worried. I think the stench that's in the club, it takes a lot to sort it out. And I think good players, like you say, that have done well in good, thriving teams like Luton with momentum, coming back to Leeds, it's a whole different thing. And the pressure of playing for Leeds and Ellen Road and playing for Leeds against teams where it's their cup final every single week. I mean, I honestly do believe this team that we have right now playing Championship football would lose most weeks. I think if you're organised, then you're going to beat us because you're fitter than us probably, you want it more than us, you're more confident than us, and we're just so easy to beat. So I mean, I'm hoping that I'm just being really doom-mongery, but I'm very, very worried.
No, I share that.
Sounds like Joe just wants to burn it all down, doesn't it?
Yeah. I share that sentiment completely, Rocco. I share it completely, and I'll tell you why, because at the moment, I think 49ers on 44%, Joe?
Yeah, something like
44,
that.
yeah.
44%. Now, involved in that 44% is seven people at 49ers Enterprises?
Possibly more than seven.
Seven, I think there's seven names, isn't there?
They've got a lead group and then they've got a fund behind it.
Yeah. So currently there's that group of seven that aren't majority, but they all almost have a vote and a say in anything that happens at boardroom level currently, don't they?
You've three on the board. You've Morate as vice chairman. You've got Pete Lowy as one of the directors, and then there's another guy who I don't know, but they've got, as far as I'm aware, they've got three on the board. But as far as I'm aware, decision-making power sat with Rads. He was the final say on everything. That's as far as I'm aware. I know they got involved in January. I know they got involved with Victor. And I know they got involved with Javi because they weren't happy with situations.
So we've only got to look at January then. I mean, with Weston McKennie, I mean, they were probably
they did throw 90 or 75 million that January. So they did throw money at it. Now, whether but you're giving that to a director of football who you trust to do the business, who's living on the back of Willie Gnonto and Marcelo Bielsa. So you've given
this
them
is where my problem lies.
Issue.
That's where my problem lies. Are they going to throw 75 million quid at it and not expect to have any say? That's what the split boardroom is. The split boardroom, the split board is, I feel, what's been really, really tough, and that we've really struggled with. And I think I completely share Rocco's sentiments here. That should they become majority shareholders? Actually, we've got a bigger split board because there's 7 or 8 frontmen or investors of women.
Well, but there's only a couple that make decisions. So they're an investment pool. So they're just people that are throwing their money in to invest and make more money coming out of it or get dividends back. That's what they're doing. They're not.
It only takes one disagreement.
I know, but they won't be around the table. They won't be involved in the discussion. There's only a handful of them involved in the discussion. The directors, the rest of them.
Who will if they take over majority shareholder?
Parag Morate is the guy that's labelled as being he is actually probably the major shareholder in that group as it is. So he will be the chairman in front of 49er Enterprises at Leeds. You've got Pete Lowy, who's one of the richest men in Australia, if not the richest man in Australia, and he's a Leeds fan. So you've got some Leeds people there, but they haven't had any decision-making powers. It's been a pretty small executive board of Radrazani, Kinnear, Orta, and then maybe Parag when he was around. But if you look at them, I don't have any issue with them not getting involved in things up until this point or up until January, because up until then, we were still in the Premier League and they can sit back and go, the guy running the show who knows what football has told us relegation is impossible. So that's not going to happen. We can sit back. But then when January came around, it became pretty obvious that we needed players and that Raz had said out loud he wasn't putting any more money in. That's when they stepped in and started throwing money at it. Now, we've argued for other transfer windows that we haven't spent enough money. We haven't spent any money in some January transfer windows. There was an effort made to bring in players that on paper that looked like a good January. It did. Now, in hindsight, now we can look back and go, well, they got it wrong. Well, they did, but they also took advice from a man who has a massive scouting network and assured us that he knew exactly what he was doing, and he didn't. And when that became apparent, that's when they stepped in to change the manager and to change him. So they did get involved when it looked like the shit was hitting the fan. That's when they jumped back in. I don't know what they're going to be like as owners. All I know is from what I've seen them doing the 49ers, there's some stuff that fans aren't happy with over there because they moved the stadium. But that wasn't necessarily black and white either. They wanted to expand the stadium where it was, and the council or the government in that area wouldn't allow them to. So they moved to where their training ground was, and they built the stadium where their training ground was. So they did move it, but some fans weren't happy about that. But they tried to keep it within, but we train here. This is where we're based day to day. What they'll be like is, but they have turned around the model that they have at the 49ers. They put them in a situation where they got to a Super Bowl final this year. They're competitive. They're one of the leading spenders when it does come to actually spending money on squad. That they're very. Morate has been labelled as being very clever with the contract situations that they can do over there and how he can financially weave between these contracts to bring in more talent to the franchise. So, as a business, they seem to be very clever in what they do. Do they know anything about football? Probably not. They've been 5 years involved with Leeds to get up to speed on it. The first and the most important decision they will get right is if they decide to go down a director of football model, they've got to get that spot on. If they decide to split that role into a head of football development and a head of football in terms of the off the field stuff, they have to get 2 positions right. So that's the first thing for them. Before they even talk about managers, they need to get the director of football right, because that will influence.
Just clarify something for me. We're not actually being taken over by the 49ers. It's the 49ers investment enterprises.
49ers Enterprises own the 49ers.
All right, okay.
Right. So the way they do it over there is when they look to invest in something, use my hands now. When they look to invest in something, they create an investment pool and they invite people of wealth to put their money into this pool. That creates the fund, which then sits on the 49er Enterprises, and that fund becomes the vessel to purchase that, whatever that investment is. So Leeds is one of them. However, they have got a couple of pretty high-profile frontrunners on this. There's a couple of politicians apparently in Washington linked to this now as well. So there is money come in here, and the people that are putting the money into the fund don't have a say in the footballing decisions or the day-to-day running of a club. They are literally silent investors there to make money. It's venture capitalist stuff. It's just there to make money. They're not involved. There will be a board that will sit on top of that will run the club, and they're not going to be the same.
So see that's partly scares me. They want to make money.
Yeah, I mean,
Everybody does. But
let's-
Rad's making money on this as well. Like, I mean, Rad's getting into the Premier
yeah.
League. He was never going to stick around. He was going to get Leeds into the Premier League, get into a stage where he can make loads of money and then sell them. And he has, and he will. So they're only going to make money if Leeds are successful. And that's the other side of the coin. Like,
Fair point.
you know, if we do well, they make more money because they're not looking to buy Leeds and sell it. They're looking to get payouts every year. So Leeds need to be a success in order to do that. If Leeds are making financial losses every year, then they're not making any money. They're losing money because they have to keep putting more money in then to keep the thing running. So it's in everyone's interest for this to work. But it's a toss of a coin whether it will or not. I just go back to looking at how they ran as an organization, and I'm looking forward to actually having a company running a club rather than 3 people.
For sure. Right, okay, there was loads in there. Loads to unpack. But Theo says, I want the no, it's fine, it's great. I want the 49ers in, but I hope the grass is green. Exactly. We won't know until we know, do we? But what I will say, just on the American ownership, there is a lot of them in the Premier League, and it's not always great. You just look at Man United, look at what's happening at Spurs.
Arsenal went through a bad time with the didn't they?
Yeah, so yeah, with the Gronkies and that. So
they're not famed for like being amazing. Yeah, I prefer somebody like the owners of Newcastle or Man City personally.
Human rights violations. Get rid of them. Doesn't matter.
She wants a slice of that pie.
It's life or death, Jer. Literally.
Listen, I think I hear it, but I think we're all like a couple of Mbappes and Neymars getting signed. Let's be honest. PRM says, what future hold for loan players? Roberts, Joffrey, James, Drama, Creswell, Hjelder, Lewis Bate, James, Defo playing.
They all play a part for me next season,
except for Roberts.
I think Roberts will be sold.
Roberts. I didn't see Roberts.
I think Dan James will be sold.
I'd like to hang on to Dan James next year. I think he'd do a very good job in the champ. Oh, he was excellent in the championship last time he was there.
He's shit,
but not in the championship. Not in the championship. He's very good.
Someone will buy James, and he's on a decent wage, so I think they'll want him off.
Not when we get relegated.
Don't forget, it was us and Scum who both tried to buy Dan James when he was in the championship. So 2 teams both thought he was good enough at that point when he was in the championship. Going back into the championship, he should be well good enough for that level.
No, Man United didn't have a Scooby-Doo. They copied what we did because they also tried to come in and late and sign JKA. So, that was their scouting network at the time. Yeah, that was, come on.
What are they doing over there?
Yeah, exactly.
Auto 2.0.
Yeah, listening to bloody Ryan Giggs probably on Wales duty as well, in between battering his wife, the little scumbag. But yeah, we move. Drama.
I'm to put my burqa on.
Savage. What? Drama, Creswell.
Said, Kate, get your burqa on.
Who said that? Oh, for the 49ers, right? Okay.
I don't wear one.
Not for the 49ers. Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
It does look like Kate's wearing a West Ham shirt, though, with the captain's armband on.
Yeah, it does. Declan Rice.
I've turned.
Drama, Creswell, Hjelder, Lewis Bate, all there. Right, listen, we've done an hour. There's loads there. We said we weren't going to talk about the reasons we're in this shit show, but we couldn't help but go there, could we? Listen, we've got one more game left. And that's against Spurs. So let's just finish with some score predictions, just for shits and giggles. Go on, Joe. I'll come to you.
1-1.
1-1, right? Okay, Kate.
4-1 Leeds.
Right, okay. Rocco.
Why not?
3-0 to Spurs.
Luke.
3-1 Leeds, and we stay up.
Oh, I don't. No chance. I'm with Jeremy. I think it's 3-0, and Harry Kane gets a hat trick before he goes to join Man United. That's what will probably happen. Tis what it is. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Listen, subscribe, like the video if you're watching live or on the after. Make sure you check out Joe at Leeds United The View. Make sure you check out Kate at Leeds Bird Rants, Rocco at Leeds That Podcast, and also Luke at Auto No Better. Go on, Joe, you had your hand up.
Congrats on 20k.
Oh yeah, thank you, man. Achieved it, man. Before the end of the season. But listen, we're going to the championship now, so it's all for nothing.
No, it isn't. We've got to keep going.
Yeah, 100%. It's just hard to find like Rotherham fan channels and that. You know what I mean?
And
It's
trains to Plymouth.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
games
Green
a week.
Army. Do some of that, won't they? Yeah, we'll leave it there. Thanks, everyone. Oh, I've just noticed as well. I did play Queen. The show must go on earlier, and my video's proper being absolutely hammered. They're like, you cannot. They've taken it down of YouTube, so I've had to. Honestly, I've played some tunes before. Simon and Garfunkel. That one got took down with the old what's the tune? Hello, Darkness, my old friend.
Yeah.
And then I've had Queen, and they've took it down. Some do, some don't. It's a bit mad, but anyway, we move. So the show mustn't go on, unfortunately.
Hey, that lady. Oh, I've not sung
Sorry.
Is that Kate again?
Yeah, probably.
He took a wine glass, yeah. Looking it at the wall.
Yeah, man.
Bamford shot with his right foot at weekend.
Yeah.
Lewis says, I've got £100 on us to win, Everton to lose, and Leicester to
I cashed my bet out. So I got offered, I put 100 quid on us after Palace. That would go down to win 350 back. And they offered me 315 last night after the game. So I took it. So if we stay up by a miracle, I've bashed the bookies and I'm going to have the best Sunday ever.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Do you know what?
I'm going to have the best Sunday ever anyway, regardless whether we're up or down.
This is
Just
where the
on-
hope starts again, though. This is you start talking positive, someone makes a comment in the comments, and
hope
then we
starts
start
again.
believing
I'm like,
again, and
oh,
then Saturday happens, and we're all depressed.
It's three games of football with 3 games. There's 6 teams that we can still do it.
Never.
We can.
Never. I tell you, just while we're chatting about bookies, right? I went to bookies earlier just to put. I was going to put £1 on a couple of card bets, right? And I walked in and I used them machines. And as I've walked in, right, I've gone to put my money in and I've looked in top right corner and there's a tenner on it. So I've had a look round. I thought, I'm having that tenner. so I quickly put my 3 players on cards, right? Took the slip, got home, buzzing. I thought, oh, get in. If that wins 46-1. I only picked Joel Linton and James Maddison. James Maddison didn't start and Joel Linton got injured in warm-up. And I thought, that's karma for you. That's fucking karma for you. That I should have give that tenner back. And then, yeah, but it is what it is. I thought, I'm having that.
Proud of your pocket money, Joe.
Yeah.
70-1 to stay up we are if anyone fancies a tenner.
No. I was going to say, Joe, Big Sam would be very proud of you pocketing that tenner.
Yeah.
Sorry, Luke.
70-1, Kate. That means if you put £1 on, you get 70 back if we stay up.
Yeah, I know. No, I bet.
There we go. Jason says, thanks, guys. I'm off to bed smiling. And that's the whole purpose of this.
Can I just say, did anybody put any money on Bielsa that was running at York races last week, 12-1?
No, he does really well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
It's a decent horse.
He
Has to
won.
win a bit, yeah.
He came in first.
Yeah, there was a couple of weeks back, Bielsa and the Cookstown Cafu were both running, and they both won. So, yeah, happy days. So some trainer's a Leeds fan, clearly, isn't he? Right, cool. Well, we'll leave it there. Have a nice rest of the evening, folks, and I'll probably see you tomorrow at some point. And make sure you check everyone else's content.